All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. I have a very special guest, Anita Krishna, who is a former global reporter. She worked there for quite a long time, I believe 20 years. So it's really nice to have you on, Anita.
Thank you. I was a newscast director over there.
Newscaster. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. No, that's great. So if you don't mind me asking, I heard there was a lot of controversy. You had some certain opinions about COVID that they didn't like. What exactly happened there?
Oh, yeah. Okay, I've told this story a few times, but well, like when 2020 happened and everybody was panicking and stuff like that, it was a slow build up, right? We heard about something happening in 2019 over in China, and we sort of had little rumblings, and then I and I remember working with this camera guy he's kind of like a nervous Nelly type, but he was like, "Oh my God, I'm scared of this thing. I'm scared that this thing will come here." And at the time I was like, "Oh, I don't know. I wasn't scared about it. I wasn't taking it seriously or anything like that." Then all of a sudden at the beginning of 2020, we just went wall to wall psychotic, with blasting the coverage. And I think it was one day, I always forget the date, whether it was March 11th or 12th.
12, yeah.
Was it the 12th or
Yeah.
something where we went mental? That's the day the airports were shutting and the sports, all NBA, like the NBA, MLB, every sports thing was canceled,
Yep.
travel was canceled. And I remember everybody just going with it, it all coming on the wire. I was working on Global National that day, and everybody just just going with the news of going, this is shut, that is shut, and everybody almost getting very excited about it, or very
Enthusiastic about it for sure.
enthusiastic, or they just went with it.
Yeah.
But like they were just, we're doing this, but nobody stopped to go, who is sick, what is happening, how many people are dying that we're doing this. And I remember thinking that immediately. That's the first thing. Those are the five questions you ask when you're in journalism, right? You
Right.
always, the who, the five W's: who, what, where, why, and when. And, and so what is happening? Who is it affecting? What is happening? When did this happen? Like, we didn't do any of that. We were just balls to the wall,
Right.
terror coverage from the jump. And so then I remembered, we were all panicking and it made me totally uncomfortable. And it was just right around that time I was thinking, this something just doesn't feel right. Almost like a psychosis had gone over everybody immediately. That's what happened there.
Yeah.
And then as time went on, all the things you can, did you ever, yeah, so I could keep going. But as time went on, it was just constantly everything that you could find out by reading on the internet were things that we weren't reporting.
Right.
Like, for example, where did this come from? And then we all started to say wet market, wet market, wet market. Well, I don't see any evidence of that. And then all these other podcasters were talking about, namely, these two evolutionary biologists I was listening to at the time, Brett Weinstein and Heather Heying from the Dark Horse podcast.
Mhm.
I would listen to them, and I'm like, these are two of the smartest people I've ever heard in my life. And everything they're reporting, we are not reporting.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was crazy. It's like one of my favorite quotes from Robert Kennedy, and I mention him a lot, so I apologize, but he said, during COVID, when you're scared or when you're fearful, it affects the part of your brain that allows you to think critically. Right? So people weren't asking the five W's. They weren't thinking critically. They were hearing what they were seeing on TV and they were scared to death. And it just completely kind of like unwired their brains almost.
Yeah, very true. Very true. They would like nobody had skepticism, which is
Right.
weird in a newsroom, because a newsroom you're always supposed to look at something. You're not supposed to just take it and eat it as face value. When you hear about something, you're supposed to look into it. So are you that scared that you're not looking into it? It's almost like we believed our own hype, and we were
Right.
like hyping, and then started doing cases. And we were doing like the case count. And every night on the news, I'd put a graphic up. The graphic would be, there are 10 new cases of COVID reported, and sadly, 4 people have died. And we do that every day and then run the ticker on the bottom of the people that had died or passed. But then I was always like, who died? Who are these people? How old are they?
Mhm.
Where did they contract this? Why? I was pulling my hair out, going, why are we not reporting this? And I would never get any answers out of our own newsroom staff.
Yeah, it's that must be a weird feeling, right? Because like being growing up, being a journalist and having a career in that way, like your brain's going to be wired to always ask questions, and I think that's a great way to think as well. But then all of a sudden, you're told not to ask questions, or asking questions about the lab leak was like somehow racist or something. It's like what? Like what's going on here, right?
Totally racist, totally racist, not only in my work life, but in my private life. Because I
Yeah,
said to one of my best friends at the time, and we don't even like talk anymore because we disagree so much. But I was like, "Have you heard about this laboratory? Like, what is going on with this?" Like, and I was explaining stuff to her, and then she goes, "Anita, it's racist. It's racist to say that." And I'm like, "Racist? How is it racist to say? If that's where it came from, that's where it came from."
yeah, like you're questioning a lot. You're not saying anything bad about, Asian people. You're just questioning their government and what's going on with their labs. And now it seems like, well, it actually was a lab leak. That whole wet market thing was nonsense, right?
Yeah, they had swabbed the whole wet market, and they had not found anything that had come from there. And the wet market was so close to Wuhan. And then you also have to look into what were we doing with our labs here in
Right.
Winnipeg, and what
Winnipeg,
were
yeah.
we doing in the States. I don't know. You hear of Fort Detrick and stuff like that. Why on earth would we not report any of that? It blew my mind.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. It's just it's insane how that kind of happened and people losing their careers or hey, you got to do this or you're going to lose your job and it's the same people who always say my body, my choice. And then all of a sudden a mandate comes along and all of a sudden it's do what you're told. And it's like, hey, well, wait a minute, which one is it?
They don't even see my body, my choice as relevant to this. They don't
Right.
even think about it. Their brain doesn't even compute that. They're like, well, you have to take it because you have to take it because people are getting sick and this is different. They don't even see it that way. And when the vaccine passports and stuff came out, I remember being in the newsroom and people were like, "You didn't get your passport?" And I'm like, "I am not getting this. Are you crazy? Like I'm not getting this." And they're like, "Suit yourself." Like they were like
Mhm.
that. It's like, and I go, "Don't you think this is a little bit show me your papers? This is a little bit Nazi-ish, what we're doing here, getting people to show a vaccine passport to go into a restaurant." And they just didn't get it. Or if they did, they didn't speak up about it.
Yeah, or they just didn't care. I mean, it was totally authoritarian, right? And then the government comes out with this ArriveCan app, and what do they spend $60 million on it? It's like well, it takes 60 million bucks to. So everyone who creates an app has 60 million bucks. Wow, that's so interesting, huh?
I know. I know that's a very good point. The amount of money they threw at this. Yeah, yeah,
That'll scare people. I mean, it was
yeah.
crazy. Oh, looks like hold on, it's got a
Yeah.
mic
Oh,
issue.
you became louder there, but that's okay. That's okay with me.
Yeah, sorry, my mic's. I have a very old laptop. I got to get a new one, but that's okay. Uh,
I do too. I have an old one
I'm,
too.
yeah.
But I eventually, like, I mean, long story short, I started hearing about problems with, I guess I'll be careful with my words here, but problems with people having babies and problems in that area. And then I started hearing about things and I went to a rally for a doctor at a hospital. And then I got into massive trouble for that because I ended up just going on stage. That's a whole other story. And then Global found out. I don't even know how that happened. It just kind of happened. But and so Global got mad at me for that because people were so excited to see me because they thought I was a represent I just went as a private citizen to a rally, right? But I happened to work at Global. So that got people really excited. And then I just went on stage and I just said, "Look, I got pulled up on stage because I talked to a nurse and then she pulled me up on the stage and then I'm not shy. I just said, "I don't know what's going on and I don't know why we're reporting the way we're reporting." I was kind of clueless as to why we were so mental with our coverage and so unfair.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's I mean, I'm glad it's over and I hope it never happens again, but I mean, the people who believed everything they heard, they just showed the government their cards. If they want you to do something, they'll scare you, right? It's what
Yeah.
they're doing now with Pierre Poilievre. He's just like Trump. He's just like Trump. They're trying to scare people into voting to destroy the country. It's crazy to me.
It is crazy. Yeah. And I guess, yeah, look, we should get into that. And just to finish off, the more I started to do, the more I started to speak up, the more I heard about. I would listen to other vaccinologists who were pleading with people, just keep this away from children, yada yada. I was pleading at work. I was talking to everybody, talking to the news director, talking to producers, talking to everybody, trying to show them stuff, and no one would listen. And eventually, with all my chirping and talking up, asking why we weren't covering certain things, like a letter that Dr. Hoff wrote to the provincial health officer, saying people are getting injured. We would not cover any of that. And basically, all
Mhm.
they kept doing was saying, keep your opinions to yourself. Keep your opinions to yourself. I got several emails saying that. And eventually, I got thrown out of the building one day. And then eventually, after that, I got fired for tweeting something. But yeah, so that's kind of how that all happened. Is over as the months went by, every day I would say something. So there's not anybody at work that didn't know how I felt, but everybody there chose to keep their mouth shut, or suppress me. And then management came and attacked me, basically. The management was done with me after 24 years of working there.
Yeah,
That's,
and the
yeah.
reason why, because you did your job. I mean, that's just really pathetic from
It's so pathetic. And I actually, my skin crawls when I look at global news, when I look at their faces, the anchors that I used to work with, their smug faces on TV. I hope they know what a disservice they did to Canada and to the province of British Columbia, because I worked on global national too. So that's national news. That's all across the country, the way they covered the convoy, the way that I meet people every day who are injured, and you're trying to tell me I'm lying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild, but I'm very sorry that happened. But I'm also glad that you have other platforms now. I know you're on YouTube. Your channel's growing pretty good. So, yeah, and definitely go for everyone watching. Go and follow Anita K over on YouTube. She's got a great channel. So,
Thank you. Yeah. As you know, it's hard work, isn't it? But it's fun. It's
yeah,
so
I
fun.
really enjoy analytics, but then sometimes you watch analytics too much, and then your emotions are kind of, why is this video not going? Why am I not getting views? And yada yada yada. But yeah, it's
That's a whole other topic. Like, how to grow on YouTube is also a game I'm learning. Not a game, but there's a strategy to it, which is really, really complicated. So yeah.
Yeah, it's really about sticking to your sub niche and, because the YouTube algorithm is kind of funky. Like if you make a video off topic or off your niche, they just don't know who to push it to and they don't really push it to anyone. So
No.
yeah, it's tough. But yeah, you're definitely doing
Well,
great.
we're
So
trying, right? We're
yeah.
trying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll get there. We'll get there. But
yeah.
I wanted to I saw you on Jimmy Dore a few times too, and you were mentioning the liberal leadership race and the corruption and shadiness of that. I would like to talk about that a little bit with what happened with Ruby Dalla. She had to pay $350,000. Did she ever get her money back?
Not that I'm aware of. The Liberal Party kept the money.
They
They
just took it.
probably, yeah. Who did they give it to? They probably gave it to the cops to hire the cops, or what. I don't know what they did with the
Mhm.
money, but they never. Do you imagine raising all that money because that's the fee you have to pay to run for Liberal leadership, and then they kick you out live on CBC television, but then keep your money?
Yeah, they just basically steal from you. And the reason they didn't want her or they kicked her out is because apparently they were suspicious about where the money came from. It's like, well, then give it. Like, why would you keep it? You just confiscated it? Okay.
Exactly. Good point. You kept it. It was good enough for you to keep. If it was such dirty money, you would have given it back. And a lot of it was husband and wives who had a joint credit card, and the husband gave some and the wife gave some. What's wrong with that? You asking somebody to come up with $350,000? You think that that's easy in Canada, where people don't have a lot of money anyway? You're asking for her to fundraise that kind of fee, and she went and did it, and then you have the audacity to criticize how she got it. When look at where they spend our money.
Oh yeah, I mean they don't even spend it in this country for crying out loud. It's crazy, but it's funny though that it's good enough for them to keep but not return. They're
That's right.
and then Mark Carney getting 130,000 votes. Didn't he win every single riding too?
He won a lot of writings, I think, including Christopher Freeland's writing. Like, he beat Christopher Freeland in her own writing. I think
Yeah.
he beat someone else in their own writing. And some podcaster did a breakdown of the numbers, and I can't remember who, but it was just staggering how he could possibly win this unknown guy in all these writings, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that was really odd. But really, it was you just had to register to vote, I guess, to be a liberal, and then you could register and vote. And I think it was only 150,000 people that voted him in. And enough people voted, and therefore, by default, you become the caretaker prime minister because Trudeau resigned. So
Yeah.
they have to pick another one, and they picked another one.
Yeah, it was, yeah, 131,000 people. Yeah, and the other lady you're talking about is Karina Gould. Her writing's in Burlington, which is the neighboring city where I live. I actually grew up there and went to high school with her. So
Oh,
it's
did you?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, I don't know her too well. I don't have anything bad personally to say. I don't like her politics, but it is interesting how they just kind of like, oh, her writing's Burlington. She's obviously popular there, and Mark Carney won with like 75% of the vote. It's like, wow, that's kind of crazy.
That's kind of crazy. Like she's been around for so long. She's been, you know, people know her. Would you not say in Burlington people are well aware of Karina Gould?
Oh yeah, I mean, I used to when I lived there, I would take the train to Oakville to go to work, and there'd be signs of her, vote Karina Gould. I think this is just as she became a member of parliament. She was running in a by-election, and she ended up winning. But yeah, she was pretty popular even at the time. This is pre-COVID, and I was like, oh sure, cool. I didn't. I've been a liberal pretty much most of my life, and now I find myself since COVID being called a right-wing extremist all the time. So I guess that's what I am.
Yeah, yeah, that is bizarre. So you don't have any stories of her in high school? Was she just, she seems like she was a little good girl, kind of a do-gooder, straight A student type is what she
Yeah.
seems.
Yeah, she was an academic. Again, like she never, she definitely wasn't. I mean, she was like popular around like her circle, but she was kind of quiet, just kind of nice.
Oh.
I had nothing
Mhm.
bad to say about her personally,
Yeah.
just her politics, really. But yeah, it is interesting
Yeah.
to see how someone who kind of seems like a nice, good girl, and then the next thing you know, she's everyone's racist if you disagree with me. It's like, whoa, where did this come from?
Yeah, she got caught up in the system and then had to sort of bow to the system, it sounds like, right? She's not going to talk against it. It's like people do that. They get into something and then as soon as they sort of get a whiff of, hey, this isn't right, they don't speak up about it. They just shut up because they have too much to lose.
Yeah, yeah, it's about personal interest really, and it's like it's their career. But I mean, if you're going to be a career politician, especially with a party that's infiltrated by the WEF, I guess you're going to have to bow down a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Mhm.
in terms of the election, we have a big election coming up this week. What did you think about the debates? How did you think that Carney, Singh, Blanchette, and Pierre Poilievre performed?
Oh, well, the French debate, I didn't watch too carefully because the translator voices didn't match. Like I think they had a female voice for, didn't they have a female voice for one of them?
Yeah,
And it was right. And then I
yeah,
was a bit tripped out and it just kind of, so I didn't really pay attention. And I wish that I was recording when the press conference happened because obviously
yeah,
that was the news of the week or the news of the
yeah,
year to me, right? And then when the English debate came on, I really enjoyed the English debate. But then my phone was ringing, people were talking to me. I was like, I'm trying to watch this. And then I was all ready to record the debate,
yeah,
the press conference afterwards. And then I did a video saying my jaw dropped. Literally, my jaw dropped when I was ready to go, and I found out it was canceled. I mean, but we can get back to that. But I would say that Blanchette he was saying the things that I didn't expect him to say about oil and gas. And he was really coming after Carney, really talking about the Century Initiative and
yeah.
everything. I just thought Blanchette just threw down. He threw down. So it was like he was really trying to gut Carney. And I thought that was fantastic. And you almost think is in a crazy world, could Blanchette and Polyev form a coalition? You almost think they'd be good partners.
Well, and that's the thing too, is I mean, if you're Yves Blanchette, I mean, a lot of people were telling me, oh, they're all going to team up against Pierre, and I'm like, hey, it's not Pierre who took the NDP and the Bloc's voters, it's Carney, so they're going to be coming after him, right? Like, if you look at Quebec, the Bloc is, I think, only projected to win just a few seats now. Where not long ago it was like 20 to 25 seats. So I
Yeah.
think Blanchet was like, I need to get some support back, or else our party's going to shrink. And Jagmeet Singh, I thought, like everything else he does, he lost the debate, and he's maybe the worst politician I've ever seen in my life.
He really is just kind of like doesn't get it. And there's something about him where you're like, you're not that intelligent. Like you don't really get the concepts and you're just kind of just interrupting like the teenager or like the kid at the dinner table a little bit, I
Yeah, I
found.
mean, so
Yeah.
much to they had to cut his mic off in the French debate for like a minute.
Oh, they did cut his mic? Oh, I missed that part. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a huge TV no-no. You
Yeah.
just never ever cut a mic. It's just like in television, I would have never cut a guest mic. I just can't even imagine doing that. But nowadays, these losers on network TV are doing that to
Yeah.
JD Vance. They'll do it to people. They'll cut your mic. It's like a cardinal sin in television. We don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
he wouldn't stop I mean, even every time, even in the English debate, every time Pierre Poilievre started to talk, he would just start yapping off. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're looking so unprofessional and so stupid right now. People want to hear what Pierre Poilievre has to say. That's why they're watching the debate.
Yeah, and it really is problematic when you do that. First of all, it's rude, but also
Yeah,
a lot of things get cut into small clips so you can share it on X or share it wherever. And when you have him nicking in there, ruining the soundbite, it's no good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you could get a nice clean soundbite from Pierre, but with Jagmeet chirping in, you're ruining the content of what he's trying to say. It's like when you're trying to make a point and somebody's interrupting you, sometimes it can throw you off, right? Although it's
yeah.
hard to throw off Pierre, but it's just wrong on so many levels that he did that. And to no gain for him because he doesn't come off looking well. And I work in a medical clinic in the daytime, and at the right, one of my neighbors is the NDP. Like they're the NDP, their office is there, and I don't even know how. I don't know. It must be so embarrassing. I think they're even embarrassed of their leader, to be honest.
I think so. I think he's done after this election, to be honest with you. I think he's going to lose his riding. I think he's going to be gone from Parliament, and I guess he can go back to being a lawyer or whatever he was doing before. So, but in terms of the election prediction, what are your thoughts? There's a lot of people, liberals seem very excited right now with this massive shift in the polls that we've seen. What are your thoughts? Do you think that Pierre's going to win, and do you think he's going to win a majority or a minority?
If I'm going to be very honest, I feel like I don't know. I'm gonna go out later today with my son, and he wants to go downtown and shoot some video. He likes to make little vi
Cool.
videos too. And I'm gonna go down and maybe I'll get him to do the camera and I'll talk to some people. So but Vancouver, I live in Vancouver, so we're very libtard over here, right? So, but I want to go get an overview of what people on the street are thinking, right? And I live in a suburb of Vancouver, so I'll do the same thing. So I imagine it'll be a mix. What people like us see, because we follow the conservatives, is we see this huge, massive amount of support for Polyev. If 2 million people have showed up for advance voting,
Yeah.
those are not liberal voters generally. Oh, maybe some are, right? Some
Yeah.
they are lining up too. So I think it is very neck and neck. And I used to get a little bit worried that something unethical will happen. That I don't trust.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to try. You see all the dirty and sneaky tricks that, the news is trying to play, and I don't know what's going on with the pollsters, but I've seen, someone posted a poll that they got from Angus Reid, and one of the questions was, what's your impression of Pierre Poilievre? And it was, one of the options was just a slanderous paragraph about he's a right-wing extremist. The next paragraph option was, oh, he's just like Trump, 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 Trump. The next option is unsure or neither. So there wasn't an option that was endearing to Pierre Poilievre. So if you're a conservative or anyone who's just anti-modern liberal, you're going to look at that and crumple it up and throw it in the garbage. I would never answer a poll like that. So I think that you're seeing a response bias as well.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, yeah, that's a good example of a question where you're supposed to put unsure. So then it's so that, and then they only poll about 2,000 people across Canada and they only do like very small province to province. So then they can take it. Let's say you interview 100 people in BC and then 50% say unsure. So that's 50 people. And then the news can take that headline and go, Angus Reid reports 50% of Canadians are unsure, or 50% of people in BC are unsure about Polyev. And they will make a headline like that. And it's literally only 50 people.
Yeah,
They do
yeah,
stuff like that all the time. And that's the thing I don't trust. Like, will boxes of ballots go missing? Will there be tampering? Will this be on the up and up? And even though people say too big to rig, too big to rig, I don't trust that this government and what I've seen them do will not rig. That's my worry.
Well, I mean, the thing is, when you're dealing with people who are extremely corrupt, you don't know where the end is, right? Like, how far will they go? Where will they stop? And I know a lot of people are worried about it. One of my followers actually apparently, and I don't have proof of this or anything, but he said that he met Pierre Polyev and asked him about that, and apparently he's got some plan in place where he's got people working for him that are going to be at every election Canada station, watching them like really closely. So hopefully they do, and just to make sure that it's fair, right? If the liberals win, I guess they win, but just make sure it's free and fair, like elections are supposed to be.
Yeah. So he might have scrutineers or whatever at the polling stations, or
I
that's
think
what
so, yeah. And
yeah.
they might be like undercover, right? Like, I don't know if they're going to be wearing conservative logos. They might just be regular people, so people can't spot them. I'm not sure what his plan is, but and I by the way, I think the liberals should also have people out there. I think every party should have, if it's a free and fair election, this is what everyone should want. So, we'll see.
Elections Canada is supposed to be an unbiased entity, but they are paid by the government.
Oh,
So
really? I didn't know
yeah,
that. Yeah.
I don't know how we could. I better fact check myself, but it's a government agency, right? Or how? Yeah, Elections Canada. Let's quickly, yeah, Google. Like that's what makes me nervous. Is like who funds them? Obviously, who pays their paycheck? If the liberals pay their paycheck, I don't trust anything. That's what I'm worried about. And you're right. If he loses, he loses, right? Then if it's fair, it's fair. And then they criticize people so much if they don't accept the results of the election. They become an election denier, and the media will criticize you, which is not fair. But who funds? Or maybe you could type this faster than me, or funds because I'm doing this on my phone. Elections Canada.
Yeah, let's see here.
Financial reports to, let's see here, if we can trust Wikipedia. The financing of federal political entities in Canada is a combination of public and private funds. A combination of public and private funds finances the activities of these entities during and outside elections. So, let's see the public funding.
Hmm.
Public funding of Canada's federal political parties is allocated in two ways: per vote subsidies, electoral expense reimbursements. So if it's public, is this not the government paying for this?
Yeah, it's
And
hard to say exactly who, but it wouldn't surprise me.
and if it's private, are there private donors doing this? Yeah, maybe people in the comments could tell us exactly who. Yeah, but it's Elections Canada, therefore I would say a good portion was tax paid for by the taxpayer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, especially if and it should be like a non-biased funding, right? That's what I would hope anyway.
I would want a separate entity doing it that is paid for half by the two leaders that are neck and neck or something. Like get the
Hmm.
Conservative Party to pay for half, get the Liberal Party to pay for half, or something. Do it so everybody, I don't make it so it is really a private entity that is funded somehow by, I don't know how to actually, I'd have to think about that, like hiring a private entity to be as unbiased as possible. I'd even want to hire an entity from a different country that has nothing to do with it, just to count, just to do the counting. The
Yeah.
people who have no horse in the race. I don't want people from the government, the liberal government, counting the votes.
Yeah, no, it should be free, fair, and making sure that whoever the best man wins, right? And that's
Yeah.
the end of it, and it's got to be free. And if the liberals lose and they want to ask questions, I'm all for that too, right? I'm
Yeah.
not biased in any way. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely important for sure.
Yeah, so I am a little bit on edge. I mean, we see the support for Pierre. It's time for a change. I think you've got to be deranged if you want more of the same, but there are a lot of people that do want more of the same, and their elbows are up, as you can see, and they want it. They dig this Carney guy. They think he's revived the Liberal Party.
Yeah, that's what they think, and he just said that he was going to he released a budget like 130 billion dollars he's going to spend. So like, where are we going to get that money from? Oh, guess where? Us.
Yeah,
Which probably
yeah,
means he's going to raise taxes or bring back the carbon tax. It's crazy to me.
yeah, yeah. That would be awful if he did that.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, it's very interesting, but I see like mo most of my followers are actually boomers, but it's interestingly enough that boomers are also generally speaking liberal. So I often ask my followers, I'm like, hey, you grew up with these people, these are your peers. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on? Like, is it mental illness? Like, how could you still be liberal after 10 years of, crime and unaffordability and scandals and treason basically by Justin Trudeau? I mean, it's just how do you still support it? And they say, well, Trudeau's gone, Carney's different. It's like, okay.
They think that.
Yeah, they think that he's like a nice older man, which is, funny. Remember when the Liberal Party said that they were done with rich old white men and that voting for them was racist? And
Oh,
Trudeau said after the American election that Americans were sexist because they voted in a man over a woman. Well, the Liberal
oh.
Party just not only did they kick out a woman, they had two other women as options and they still voted in the rich old white man. Weird.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think some people of a certain generation still are caught up in that virtuous thing. Like they really think that it's virtuous to support maybe transgender things where they're sort of missing the point. Like our NDP attorney, deputy premier, her name is Nikki Sharma. She was asked just the other day, what in the legislature, what is a woman? And I was like, oh, somebody's asking her this.
I saw
And
that.
she was just like, I can't even believe I have to answer this question. We accept and we see everybody. So, and again, in a way, when she says that, she's trying to say, I see you if you think you're a different gender, which is all fine, but
Yeah.
they never speak about the part saying you have confused generations of children by confusing them about your gender because they basically tell you that your body parts don't matter. And they were telling that to my kids in school.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
100%. They say AFAB and AMAB. They write it on the chalkboard. They say assigned female at birth, assigned male at birth. They tell you that in school. And my kid was older when this stuff started happening. Imagine you got a 5-year-old and you don't, and so your genitals don't matter, your body parts don't matter, and you get taught that. There's even CBC cartoons that teach you that. And this one cartoon was a girl. Somebody had a baby in the hospital, and these two kids were in the waiting room, and the boy goes, "Oh, is it a boy or a girl?" And then the girl comes in and she goes, "Just stop right there. Let's pump the brakes. Gender is what you think it is." You know what I mean? She starts saying, just because that's not how the person feels on the inside. And this was a CBC cartoon. And I did a video about this and put it on YouTube, and you can guess what happened to that video.
of course.
They
Yeah.
never saw the light of day.
Yeah.
And so and I'm a mother. I have two teenagers. They're grown now, but when they were young and I'd get them ready for school, we would watch CBC Kids.
Yeah.
Now you have kids watching CBC Kids and learning that your gender doesn't matter. So when that's the problem. So these boomers that want to accept gender, I understand that you want to accept somebody if they think they've been born in the wrong body. But now you have an epidemic of people thinking they're born in the wrong body. It's only one in a million that might think something. It's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry. There are 3 kids in my child's grade 6 class that went the other gender.
Really.
Yeah, and I said to my son, I go, were these girls and or boys, or were they boys that turned into girls, or what were they? He goes, I don't know. I don't even know what they were. Mom, he goes, I don't even know what they are. I don't know if they're what he can't, he goes to school with kids and you don't know what they are, if they're boys or girls or what the hell they.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting and very confusing. I remember when liberals were pro science, I guess they think biology is not a science, but yeah, I mean, with that, I am unfortunately running out of time, but I would also like to have another interview with you whenever you have a chance. I do
Oh,
know you're
sure.
busy. I know you're busy, but hopefully we can get together again.
We can kibitz another time on the latest news. How about that? We do like a little, yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Anytime.
sure. Yeah, that sounds great to me, and I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to meet with me today. So, and I also want to wish you a happy
Pleasure.
Easter, happy holidays, and I hope that you have a great long weekend. Enjoy the playoff hockey if you're a hockey fan, and I'll send you a message later. We'll figure out another time to do an interview.
You bet. Okay, thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care.